You are tired. I can see it in the way you carry the weight of your own existence. It is not a physical exhaustion born of labor or toil in the fields. It is a spiritual exhaustion, a heaviness that sits directly in the center of your chest. You feel it most when you are alone, in those quiet, terrifying moments before sleep takes you, or perhaps when you catch your own reflection in a darkened window and for a split second, you do not recognize the stranger staring back at you. You are tired because you have been performing. You have been acting a role for so long that you have forgotten the script was written by others. And worse, you have forgotten that you are the actor, not the character. You believe you are the role. This is the tragedy of the modern soul. You ask why you feel hollow, why your interactions feel scripted, why your joy feels diluted and your anger feels performative. The answer is simple, yet it is the hardest thing you will ever have to confront. Your ego has made you fake. We must understand what we are dealing with here. When I speak of the ego, I am not speaking of arrogance or vanity, or the man who shouts his name from the rooftops to be adored. That is a symptom, yes, but the ego is something far more fundamental. The ego is the center of your conscious field. It is the I that you reference when you say, I am a doctor, I am a good person, I am successful, or I am a failure. It is the gatekeeper of what you allow yourself to know about yourself. But the ego is a fragile thing. It is a tiny island floating on a vast, dark, and ancient ocean of the unconscious. And because the ego is small and terrified of that ocean, it builds a fortress. It builds a persona. The persona is the mask. In Latin, the word persona referred to the mask worn by actors on the stage to project their voice and define their role. You need a persona. We all do. You cannot walk into a business meeting with your raw, unfiltered soul exposed, screaming your childhood traumas and your primal desires. You wear the suit, you use the polite language, you shake the hand. This is necessary for social survival. The danger, and this is where your life has begun to rot from the inside out, is when you identify with the mask. When you believe that the suit, the title, the smile, and the nice guy or strong woman routine is actually you. When the ego identifies with the persona, you cease to be an individual. You become a simulation of a human being. You become what society expects, what your parents wanted, what your partner demands, or what the algorithm tells you is virtuous. You prune away the parts of yourself that do not fit the mask. You have a wildness in you, a capacity for aggression, for selfishness, for deep, chaotic creativity, and for profound sadness. But the persona says, no, that is not appropriate. That is not lovable. So, the ego, desperate for safety and validation, shoves those parts into the basement, into the shadow. And this is why you are fake. You are fake not because you are a liar, but because you are incomplete. You are presenting a two-dimensional drawing of a three-dimensional being. The world interacts with your persona, and you receive praise for it. People say, oh, he is so reliable, or she is always so happy. And every time they compliment the mask, you feel a sickening twinge of imposter syndrome. Why? Because you know they are not complimenting you. They are complimenting the lie you have constructed. The ego loves the praise, but the soul starves. Consider the energy it takes to maintain this. Think of the psychological calories you burn every single day repressing your true nature to keep the mask from slipping. It is an act of tyranny. You are the dictator of your own psyche, policing your thoughts and emotions, ensuring that nothing ugly or unacceptable crosses the border into the light of day. This is why you are exhausted. You are fighting a civil war against yourself, and the side that is winning is the fake one. But the psyche acts like nature. It seeks balance. If you are overly good, overly polite, overly perfect on the outside, the unconscious will balance this with a dark, heavy counterreaction. The more you pretend to be a saint in your ego, the more a devil grows in your shadow. You see this in the man who is the pillar of the community, the moral crusader, who is found to have the darkest, most depraved secret life. He did not choose that depravity consciously. His ego became so identified with the good mask that his repressed humanity had to burst out in a distorted, monstrous way. You may not be a monster, but you are likely fragmented. You say things you do not mean. You agree to things you do not want to do. You smile when you want to bare your teeth. You maintain friendships that drained you years ago because it's the right thing to do. You pursue careers that wither your spirit because they offer the status your persona craves. This falseness creates a barrier between you and the world. You cannot truly love another person, and you cannot be truly loved because you have never allowed anyone to see the face behind the mask. How can they love you? They do not know you. They only know the performance. The ego clings to this fakeness because the ego is terrified of the alternative. The ego believes that if you drop the mask, if you stop performing, you will be rejected, abandoned, and cast out into the wilderness. It tells you, if they saw who I really am, they would leave. So you double down. You polish the mask. You buy better clothes, you curate a better social media profile, you read books on how to be more charismatic. You try to decorate the prison cell instead of walking out the door. But there is a cost to this deception that goes beyond mere exhaustion. The cost is the loss of your soul. When you live in the persona, you are cut off from the wellspring of life. You lose your intuition. You lose your instinct. You become a leaf blowing in the wind of public opinion. If the world says, fear this, you fear it. If the world says, buy this, you buy it. You have no anchor in the self. You are a collective man, a mass man, a herd animal disguised as an individual. To become real, to stop being fake, is the most terrifying adventure a human being can undertake. It requires a kind of death, the death of the actor. It requires you to look into the mirror and smash the glass. It requires you to acknowledge that you are capable of terrible things, that you are not as nice as you pretend to be, and that your virtues are often just cowardice in disguise. You call yourself peaceful, but perhaps you are just harmless. There is a difference. A peaceful man is a warrior who keeps his sword sheathed. A harmless man has no sword. The persona makes you harmless. The self makes you whole. We are standing at the edge of the abyss now, you and I. We have identified the sickness. We have named the malady. You are suffering from an inflation of the persona and an alienation from your instinctual truths. The ego has hijacked your life and turned it into a theater production. But now that we see the stage for what it is, we must ask the dangerous question. How do we get off? How do we dismantle the fake self without destroying the life you have built? How do we integrate the darkness to find the light? The descent is necessary. You cannot ascend to the heights of the spirit without first putting your roots down into the dark, damp earth of your own shadow. So you are ready to descend. You have admitted that the shiny, polished surface of your life is a veneer. You have admitted that the person who greets the world is a construct, a diplomat sent out to negotiate a peace treaty with a society that demands your conformity. Now comes the harder part. If you are not the mask, then who or what is living underneath it? When we peel back the persona, we do not immediately find the radiant center of the self. No, first we must pass through the basement. We must encounter the shadow. The shadow is everything you have refused to be. It is the repository of your unlived life. When you were a child, you were whole. You were angry, you were greedy, you were loving, you were loud, you were curious. Then the training began. Your parents, your teachers, your culture, they all drew a circle and said, stay inside this line. This is what is good. Outside the line is bad. So every time you felt a bad impulse, a flash of arrogance, a surge of sexual desire that felt forbidden, a moment of profound selfishness, you did not destroy that impulse. You cannot destroy energy. You can only displace it. You took that part of yourself, shoved it into a bag, and threw it over your shoulder. You have been dragging that bag behind you for 20, 30, 40 years. And let me tell you, the bag is heavy, and the things inside it are not dead. They are hungry. This is the source of your fakeness. You feel fraudulent because half of your personality is rotting in the dark, plotting a mutiny. The shadow contains all the primitive, negative, and socially depreciated human emotions. But, and this is the secret that few understand, it also contains the gold. It contains your spontaneity, your creative drive, your deep instincts, and your enthusiasm. By repressing the bad, you have also repressed the alive. A man without a shadow is not a holy man. He is only a two-dimensional phantom. He is harmless, yes, but he is lifeless. To become real, you must open the bag. How do you know what is in your shadow? You do not need to look far. You only need to look at what irritates you in others. This is the mechanism of projection. The shadow is unconscious, meaning you cannot see it directly, just as you cannot see your own face without a mirror. So, you project it onto other people. Think of that one person in your life, at work, in your family, or a public figure, who fills you with an irrational, burning rage. They are arrogant, perhaps. They are lazy. They are manipulative. You despise them. You obsess over how wrong they are. Be careful. That emotional reaction, that visceral hatred, is a sign that you have found a piece of yourself. You hate the arrogance in them because you are repressing the arrogance in yourself. You hate their laziness because you are tyrannizing yourself with work and secretly long to do nothing. You project your own darkness onto them so you can attack it out there instead of dealing with it in here. It feels good to be self-righteous. It feels good to judge. It preserves the ego's illusion that I am good and they are bad. But this is the ultimate fake behavior. It is a lie. As long as you are judging the shadow in others, you are possessed by the shadow in yourself. This is why nice people are often the most dangerous. A person who identifies completely with their persona, who tries to be 100% loving and kind, is building up a charge of unconscious cruelty. You see this in the passive-aggressive remark, the sudden explosion of temper over a trivial matter, or the way they sabotage their own success just when things are going well. The shadow will have its way. If you do not invite it to the table, it will flip the table over. To stop being fake, you must integrate the shadow. This does not mean you act out every dark impulse. It does not mean you become a criminal or a beast. It means you acknowledge the capacity for these things within you. It means saying, yes, I am capable of betrayal. I am capable of cruelty. I am a human being, and nothing human is alien to me. When you can look at your own capacity for malevolence without flinching, you stop needing to pretend. You stop needing to signal your virtue to the world because you know the truth of your own complexity. This process is what I call the acceptance of the dark brother. Imagine there is another version of you walking beside you, a dark brother or a dark sister. They carry the knife, they carry the lust, they carry the rage. Instead of running from them, you must turn and shake their hand. You must say, I see you. You are part of me. When you do this, a strange thing happens. The energy that was locked up in repression is released. You stop feeling tired all the time. You gain a new kind of authority. People start to respect you more, even though you are trying less to please them. Why? Because they sense that you are solid. They sense that you are no longer hiding. A man who has integrated his shadow has teeth. He is capable of saying no. He is capable of setting a boundary and meaning it. He is not nice, but he is kind. There is a world of difference. Niceness is a social maneuver. It is a request for validation. Kindness is a choice made from strength. You can only be truly kind if you have the capacity to be dangerous, but choose not to be. If you cannot be dangerous, your kindness is just compliance. It is just weakness masquerading as virtue. And deep down, you know this. That is the hollowness you feel. This integration is the cure for the imposter syndrome that plagues your culture. You feel like an imposter because you are trying to present a picture of perfection that does not exist. The moment you admit, I am flawed, I am struggling, and I have a dark side, the fear of being found out vanishes. There is nothing to find out. You have already confessed. You have stripped the power away from the fear. You become transparent, not like a ghost, but like a diamond, hard, clear, and able to transmit light. But do not mistake this for a joyful romp. This is the dark night of the soul. It requires you to sacrifice your ideal image of yourself. You have to let go of the idea that you are the hero of the story. You might be the villain in someone else's story, and you have to be able to live with that. You have to be able to bear the guilt of being an imperfect individual. Most people would rather be fake and innocent than real and guilty. They would rather remain children, protected by the persona, than become adults who must carry the burden of their own wholeness. Wholeness is the goal, not perfection. Perfection is a static, dead state, a marble statue. Wholeness is dynamic, messy, and alive. It includes the light and the dark, the day and the night, the masculine and the feminine. When you embrace your shadow, you stop being a flat caricature and become a round, deep entity. You become capable of great things because you have access to your full engine, not just the socially approved gears. So, the task before you is to catch yourself. Catch yourself in the middle of a lie. Catch yourself when you are agreeing to something you hate. Catch yourself when you feel that flash of judgment toward a stranger. Stop and ask, what is this telling me about myself? What am I hiding? This is the beginning of the return to reality. But once you have faced the shadow, once you have retrieved the energy trapped in the basement, what do you do with it? How do you weave it back into your life without destroying your relationships? How do you move from the chaos of the shadow to the order of the self? This is the final stage of the alchemy. We have walked through the house of mirrors, that is the persona, and we have descended into the dark basement of the shadow. Now we must emerge. We must ask, what happens when the mask is cracked and the shadow is acknowledged? What is left? This is the moment of greatest danger, but also of greatest possibility. This is the beginning of individuation. Individuation is the term I use to describe the process of becoming a single, homogeneous being. It is the process of becoming whole. It is not about becoming perfect by society's standards, nor is it about becoming normal. It is about becoming the person you were always intended to be before the world told you who to be. It is the oak tree emerging from the acorn. The acorn does not try to be a rose, nor does it try to be a pine. It has a destiny encoded within it. You too have a destiny, but your ego, with its vanity and its fear, has been trying to force you into a shape that does not fit. That is the friction you feel. That is the fakeness. When you stop wasting your energy maintaining the persona and repressing the shadow, a tremendous amount of libido, psychic energy, becomes available to you. You are no longer divided against yourself. You are no longer a house divided. This brings us to the encounter with the self. In my psychology, I distinguish between the ego and the self. The ego is merely the center of your conscious awareness. It is the captain of the ship. But the self is the ocean, the ship, the crew, and the stars overhead. The self is the totality of your psyche, both conscious and unconscious. It is the God image within you. When you are fake, it is because the ego is trying to run the show alone, ignoring the dictates of the self. The ego chases money, status, and applause. The self seeks meaning. And this is the cure for your malaise. Meaning. You live in an age that is obsessed with happiness. You are sold the idea that if you buy the right things and think the right thoughts, you will be in a permanent state of bliss. This is a childish fantasy. Life is not about happiness. Life is about meaning. Happiness is a fleeting emotion, often shallow. Meaning is a state of being that can endure even through suffering. In fact, meaning is often found only through suffering. When you align your ego with the self, you stop asking, what does the world owe me? And you start asking, what does the self want from me? You begin to listen to your dreams, your intuitions, and your body. You stop forcing things. You stop pretending to like people you despise. You stop working for goals that do not resonate with your soul. You begin to speak the truth. Speaking the truth is the most powerful antidote to the fake life. I do not mean simply not lying. I mean acting in accordance with your nature. When you do this, you may lose friends. You may lose status. The herd does not like it when one of its members stops bleeding and starts speaking with their own voice. It makes them nervous. It reminds them of their own cowardice. But those who fall away were never truly with you. They were only with your mask. Let them go. In the space they leave behind, new things will grow, real things. You will notice a shift in reality itself. This is where we touch upon synchronicity. When you are living authentically, when the inner world and the outer world are in harmony, strange coincidences begin to happen. You meet the right person at the right time. The book you need falls off the shelf. An opportunity arises just as you are ready for it. This is not magic. It is alignment. When you are fake, you are swimming upstream, fighting the current of your own life. When you are real, you turn and float with the river. The universe begins to back you up. This authentic life creates a new kind of presence. Have you ever met a person who is truly themselves? They don't have to be loud. They don't have to show off. They have a gravity. They have a weight. You feel safe around them because you know they are not hiding anything. They are not trying to manipulate you. They are solid. This is what you are starving for. You want to be that person, and you can be, but you must give up the illusion of control. The ego loves control. The ego wants to script every interaction to ensure a favorable outcome. The real human being improvises. The real human being trusts that whatever comes up from the depths will be enough. This requires faith, not necessarily in a religious creed, but faith in your own psyche. Faith that you are supported by something greater than your small, conscious mind. So here is the challenge I leave you with. It is a challenge of subtraction, not addition. You do not need to add anything to yourself to stop being fake. You are already enough. You need to remove the layers of debris. Remove the need for approval. Remove the fear of judgment. Remove the obsession with how you appear to others. Start small. Tomorrow, in a conversation, say what you actually think. Tactfully, yes, but truthfully. Wear the clothes you want to wear, not the costume of your tribe. Pursue the curiosity that makes no sense to your career counselor but sets your blood on fire. Step by step, you reclaim your soul from the pawnshop of society. The world does not need another copy. It does not need another simulated human being regurgitating the same opinions and chasing the same hollow prizes. The world is desperate for the unique, the individual, the real. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. It is a painful privilege. It is a heavy burden. But it is the only thing that will save you from the gray, exhausting fog of fakeness. Look into the mirror one last time. Forgive the stranger you see there for wearing the mask for so long. He was only trying to survive. But tell him the war is over. Tell him it is time to wash off the paint. It is time to step out onto the stage with your own face, your own voice, and your own soul. The audience may cheer or they may boo, but that no longer matters. Because finally, for the first time in your life, you are not acting. You are living. This is the way. This is the work. Proceed.